Well, that's awesome. Well, want to welcome you to the podcast. We have Deanna Dopslaf today, and I'm so excited to have you on, Deanna. It's been great to get to know you better. We have been, I joined
Almost 6
EXP
years.
almost 3.5 years ago, and that's when I first met you, actually.
More. I think you've been here
More,
longer. I think so. I've been at EXP almost 7 years.
but I joined November of 2022.
Two.
So it's been about 3 years, 3.5 years. Yeah.
Ah, not 3.5. Okay.
Amazing.
I'll give you that
Amazing.
much.
Yeah, we met at the
Beer
in
Rocket event.
Texas.
All
Yeah.
right.
No, actually, it was the I think it was at the Texas. What was the name of that place down there? The I can't remember. Anyway,
We
so
met.
we did meet. The Gaylord Texan is what it was. That's what it was
Yes, it
called.
was.
Yes, that was the one. And so that was actually an interesting experience because I had not converted to EXP yet from Keller Williams in that realm. But
Build
anyway, this is,
conference. It was the
yes,
build
it was.
conference. Yeah.
There was the build conference. That's exactly what it was. Because Gene was running part of that, and then I think Tony was his
Yeah.
first speaking engagement in like 3 years since
Tony
COVID
Robbins,
started.
yeah.
Tony Robbins had spoke there. That was fantastic. So, well, now we know how we met, which is awesome. So, tell me a little bit about your journey, both as a realtor and even before that. What is your background, Deanna?
I was a chronic reinventor of my life. Uh, I
I
had a
love
lot
that.
of I had a lot of different versions. That's why I tell my kids who are now in their 20s, saying, "You will not be doing this forever. You will reinvent yourself over and over again in your lifetime, and
That's
then
right.
settle into something. So don't feel bad." Started off in politics. A lot of people don't know that about me.
I didn't
Went
know
to
that.
Yeah, I went to college in Washington, D.C., worked at for the U.S. Senate for almost 4 or 5 years, and decided I just couldn't lie enough to stay in politics. And it just was
Your
not the life.
integrity got you.
The integrity factor really got into it. I know sometimes you got to do compromise to get there's compromise for, consensus, and then there's compromise selling your soul, and I just couldn't do the latter. So, went into
Uh,
education. That didn't last very long because of family circumstances. Used to be an internet and web developer. So I have a really high tech background, and then 9/11 happened, and met my husband at the same time 9/11 happened, went overseas with him, and came back totally behind the times on technology. Everything is like, what am I going to do next? And in my infinite wisdom, I'm like, ooh, selling houses sounds fun. Yeah, I think I was the typical cliche of most people who jump into real estate thinking it's going to be fun. Luckily, I pivoted really quick into the reality of real estate. I think we all know real estate typically has about an 85% failure rate in the first year, 95 by
yes.
year five.
Yes.
I was lucky. I got in right before the foreclosure crisis, and I've been doing real estate ever since. I love it. It's a big part of my life. My business is everything. And so starting my 18th year in real estate. And my husband joined me midway through my career, and now he's part of we're business partnership. And as we grew, I think the biggest my team has ever been was 12 agents. I'm almost back to that. And
No.
as little as just me. But the production has always been pretty high, and be able to maintain that pace. Getting into the leverage piece which is what this is about, is all of us as small business owners. I don't care if you're selling, cars, selling roofs, selling, houses, selling Mary Kay. I don't care what you're doing. If you're an entrepreneur and you're doing sales, takes over your life. and you start to neglect your life, your family, your personal care, all that. So leverage was my answer to doing more and still having more freedom.
Very good. So, was Eric with you, your husband, throughout the whole real estate career path, or did he join you later?
He joined me a little bit later. He did 30 years, a little over 30 years active duty or in the military, in the Air Force. And when we moved here, we moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I live currently, in 2006. Got into real estate in '06, '07, and he was my sign guy. Helped me with a little bit of marketing and set up my signs and kept learning about real estate and kept talking about it. And I was like, honey, you have got to get your license or you need to stop talking, because he was talking real estate and giving advice without a license. He's like, "Well, I'm listening to you. I'm just repeating what you say." No, you can't do that. So he got his license while he was still active duty military, just so he was legal and to help me out a little bit. And then eventually, when he retired, he, in his infinite wisdom, he decided it would be easier to just go to work for me. And that
Well,
was
I
13.
kind of consider Eric to be human crazy glue. Everybody likes him. He's very, very easy, very, very social, as we all know if we know him. And so it seems to me like you two, you balance each other out in so many ways. He's always connecting with people. You are too. Yet you're keeping the ship straight and keeping all
Yeah.
the T's dotted and the I's dotted and T's crossed
Yep.
and that type of thing. It seems like to me. Am I interpreting that right?
Yeah, it's sort of like he's front of the house, I'm back of the house now, and
Yeah.
I like it that way. He's really out there, just always public, sociable. He gets energized by that. I'm sociable with a purpose, and
Sure.
yep, and I love it. But I run all the team, the operations, the coaching, the recruiting, everything for our team now, and he handles, the sales team, everything. So it's been a good division of labor. We discovered we worked better that way when my father many years ago got really sick and I had to go up to Alaska where I'm from and spend 3 months in the entire summer,
Yeah.
May, June, July, in Alaska taking care of him. And we're like, how do you run a real estate business if you're not here?
Right.
And at that time, we didn't have virtual assistants yet. And we discovered we worked really well that way because it forced us to create a division of labor and discover what we did best. And discovered that I was great at the back. I ran back of the house, he ran front of the house, and it just our business is skyrocketing. We weren't stepping all over each other anymore.
That's cool. And so, starting from the beginning, like how was your lead generation? What did you do to generate leads, when you first got into the business, or when did you really discover the best way to get leads, or what's been your methodology?
Okay. I've had an interesting journey with that. So for, if you know the disc profile, I'm a high CD personality. I am
Mm-hmm.
definitely not a high I. And I remember my first qualifying broker was like, "Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go knock on doors. You're gonna do this." And I kind of looked at him and went, "Oh no, never gonna do it." And I moved to a city where I knew four people and thought in my infinite wisdom I was going to build this big real estate career. So I didn't like putting myself there. I did cold calling, door knocking, doing any of that, and I didn't know anybody. So I had to figure something out. And so I built my business entirely on business networking and open houses. And then for me, the luckiest thing that ever happened to me was the foreclosure crisis because I saw it coming really quick and pivoted and ended up being the top short sale broker in the state. And that was great for a couple of years
Mm-hmm.
until it
Yeah.
was over. And then it was like, now what? I was back to the problem of how do I find business? And a lot of people don't know this. Eric was deployed and it was the end of the year, and I was about ready to hang up my license and be done with it. It was the worst year I'd had. No growth. I was just not happy. And I was like, how the hell am I going to grow this business when I don't like to do the things that they're telling me to do? And, I ended up going actually to a really good workshop, that was run or sponsored by our Realtor Association, but happened to be a lady from Keller Williams who was teaching about database and sphere. And she put up on the board this formula about, how you could have a business with just 250 people in your database that could be 24 to 47. That was the math. 24 to 27, 47 transactions. And I remember I literally came out, I was on lunch break and damn near in tears saying, I think you just saved my career. Because I could get into a relationship with 250
Sure.
people, but I was never going to cold call. I was never going to door knock. I was never going to call a FSBO, and I was never going to call an expired. I had this confidence issue. I'll do it now, but it took me a long time to get there. And so she taught me to build a business with like-minded people, who were my sphere, and best by pouring into them and doing the right things. Yeah, it was a little bit of a slower burn, but it was going to be actually last more to be relational than to be transactional. And that was, I guess you could say, when there's an author, Brendan Burchard, who talks in some of his motivational books about you always need to be up leveling. And that was one of my first up leveling moments, I think, in my business, is where I kind of hit rock bottom, and you can either hit bottom and come back up to status quo, or you can come out of it better. That was one of them.
Very
So,
cool. And about what time frame was that?
gosh, I think I was at KW at the time. I think I was about 6 or 7 years into my career. So,
So about
yeah,
2012, something like that.
yeah, it was about that time frame. Um, no, it was about 2011, because about 2 years before Eric retired, and I think he retired in 13. So, I think 13 or 14. But
Yeah.
it was a big change because, like I said, he was deployed, and it was a lot. I wasn't doing well with my business, so she changed it, and then it was it just got better. We had exponential growth. What I say, that up leveling for the next several years with different affiliations with different company, different people, things like that. So
So 2011 was not overall a great time in the market, was it?
no.
I mean, it was, we'd come through 2007 and 8, and it was rough, and it didn't
Mhm.
recover very quickly.
Yeah.
And so what did you start out with? 250, or did you have less or more than that? What was your starting database
Um,
size?
that was kind of the problem. So who was it? Is it Brad Korn? Brad Korn, he's a coach with Keller Williams. I had done,
In Kansas City.
yeah,
Kansas City. Yep. Yeah.
I had done a coaching class
I
with
know
him,
Brad.
and I remember it was a database class, because I started, all right, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to make this happen.
Make the
And,
phone ring. It's called
make the
Make the
phone
Phone
ring.
Ring.
Yeah, make the phone ring was his
Yes.
class,
Yep.
and this was like February, 2 months after I'd done that other class, and I was all pumped up, and I got brave and spoke up on the call, and they're like, "How many people do you have in your database?" I'm like, 3,600. I'd put every lead I could imagine, had a couple of lists, that kind of stuff, and I, like an idiot, raised my hand and said I had 3,600 something. He goes, really? Awesome, great, Deanna. He's like, how many people do you have, real names, first and last name, mobile phone, an email, a legitimate mailing address, right? And he goes, and then a connection to their social media. I was like, oh, I don't know. And I kind of ballparked. He said, all right. He said, last thing, how many of them you called in the last 3 months?
Oh, ouch.
And it was like, Thanks. And that's when I
So was
realized
that a wake up
I
call
had to
for you?
change. Hmm.
Was
That
that a
was
wake up
another.
call
That
for
was
you?
my second one, and that's when he went down and he said, you're gonna rework this. I want you to your database is who you called in the last 3 months." And I
Yeah.
think it was like maybe 50 people. And but
Wow.
I got on the phone, I did what I had to do, and I got it up to about 250. And people I liked, they liked me, they trusted me. I would love to do business with them. They were a great transaction, or I liked them enough that I knew that if they recommended me to people, they were mostly likely going to be like them, right?
Sure. Sure.
And it worked out really well. That's where we really started pivoting our business, where it was, we started doing client events, we started doing check-in calls that weren't, it wasn't, "Hey Paul, it's Deanna, who do you know that needs to buy or sell or invest in real estate
Right.
today?" It wasn't that call. It was, "Hey, how's the family? How's this? Is there anything you need? Is there anything your family needs?" And building a business based on about that. That really changed things for me.
So, so that at that point, when you really got down to it, what did I might have missed it? How many was there? Like 300
Yeah, a little
around
over
there?
300 were in the
A little over
database. Yeah.
300. Okay.
Hmm.
And then, so what did you see once you started contacting that group? What methodology did you use to contact them? Obviously, and then what was your results? Was it the first year all of a sudden you got a bunch of business, or was it gradual, or how did that work?
Um, it was a lot. Obviously, what I divided or created was something called my inner circle.
Yeah.
I identified 5 patrons. I called them patrons. Other people call them, something else. I call them patrons because you can say I'm also an artist.
Yes.
And patron of the arts is somebody who trusts you, wants to see you succeed, and either in the art world they pour money into you or give you, resources and stuff. My resources are they give me referrals. So I identified 5 patrons, worked on them a lot, and then just started trying to grow people into good referral partners that were local. I found businesses were my key, because if you networked with other businesses, they needed help growing just as much as you needed help growing. So to me, that was an easier ask than even going to my social friends or my church friends or things like that. So I
Sure.
focused on that first, and then eventually my confidence built up. But everybody else said I was uncomfortable doing the ask. It was come to the event, show our value, good marketing, of showing our value proposition cards and things like that. But I would say, I just did the typical, there's nothing new in real estate, right? Once a quarter
Yep.
call, quarterly events. And I scheduled quarterly events because I didn't want to make a real estate call. I wanted to invite them to a party.
I like that.
Right.
And so yeah, and when you did that, I mean, at that point, let's see, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book had been published in '06, right? And so
Mhm.
had you been looking at that as far as the lead generation model and the economic model, or were you just
Just a
basically
little
going,
bit.
yeah,
Mine was really just, it was really from I think they took it a different level when they did when you looked at the sphere circle that was being taught at Keller Williams
yeah,
at the time,
yep,
and the
yep,
do the database too, call your
yes,
database.
yes,
I did
yes.
that. And I got really systematized about it, but really it was the events that changed things for us with our
Ah,
sphere. Because I mean, there was 3 months of lead in to every event. I mean,
yes.
like right now, December 6th is our Grinchmas. We do Grinchmas. We're on our 7th year of doing it, right?
Ah,
And everybody expects it. They're looking for it. We have a green chili cook-off that we do every August. We had 200 people there this year.
my goodness.
And yeah, so it's we become it's one rinse and repeat, repetitive. Don't reinvent the wheel every time. And then we do 6 events now, but 4 client specific quarterly events, and one of them's charitable, one of them's a fun competition, one of them's the cook off, one of them's the family oriented, and then we have a business to business event we kick off every year with a vendor event. where it's just networking and it's about what do you need from us this year to help your business grow. That's the entire theme of the event. Who do you need to know? What referrals do you need? How can we co-market with you? And what can you, and then we talk about what we need back from them. And we do it, that's not including the COVID years. We would have been probably on year 8 or 9 of that if we hadn't have had to stop during COVID. So that's a really good way. So segment your sphere and provide events for them that reach different demographics. Because I have some clients, they will never show up for Grinch because too many kids. I have some clients that come to the bowling tournament. I have some clients that come to the shred day. And then, ironically, all my dog owners come to Grinch because Grinch does pictures with dogs with the little horn, right?
Great. Yeah.
But it was much more fun for me to do that, and it gave me that confidence. And my second step up was realtor referrals.
Right.
And my next, I guess you could say, life-changing event was meeting Arlene Day in an elevator. Arlene Day was the queen
Yes.
of real estate referrals, and that was the next thing that revolutionized our business. So we had the sphere, and then we had realtor referrals.
Tell me about the like your early events, when the ones that you did initially. Did you just like get a back room in a restaurant and have it there, also did you have lenders and title companies participate with you, or did you carry the burden yourself, or how did that work?
Yes and no. Usually I get my lenders and title company, but also my other businesses. So I started off small, like our vendor event, our business to business event that we do is still in the back of a restaurant. Although I think we're gonna move it this year. We now have new brick and mortar. So we've got an idea. We're gonna expand that. We want that to be much bigger. But that was just in the back of a restaurant, and we'd get a couple of hors d'oeuvres. We'd go. Anybody could, if you wanted to pitch your event, or not your event, your business, you had to bring something to give, and it usually had to be. And the goal was it had to be a business book or something inspirational that would be good for a business owner as a giveaway in order for you to promote your business. And so, I mean, I don't have any of those books in here, but it would be, different, Profit First was the book. This changed my life, or Clients First, or whatever. And that's a tradition. And then, so we had a lot of giveaways that way. The business could pitch. We do, games to get to know each other. That was a really inexpensive event to do. And then we did the smaller client events, like Total Wine would do a wine tasting in their little wine room. Trying to think, but we also did a lot of stuff at our house. We found that our clients loved coming to our home. That's where the Green Chili Cook-Off started, was at our home. And then it went to a park. Now it's in a big park now. It came back to our home during COVID. We did a virtual Green Chili Cook-Off during COVID, where we were roasting literally in our front yard with our grill, and people were eating their green chili. They could come by and pick it up. So we pivoted and adapted, and those were affordable things to do. The other thing is marketing or sharing with other realtors, taking advantage of anything maybe your brokerage is doing. So when I'm not part of Keller Williams anymore, but when I was part of Keller Williams, they did a lot of brokerage events like Trunk or Treat and things like that you could leverage. So leverage is the best thing to do for that.
Did you actually ever do the Tony Did It Again mailers, like Tony did?
Very early on.
Did you try that? I did a little bit, and were you successful with that? And what that is, just so our viewers know, is that you basically, in his case, if I remember the numbers right, he had 1,100 people he mailed to once a month, and he got I think, no less than 100 deals out of it per year, if I remember the numbers. Does that seem
Yeah,
right?
he did two things. He did the Tony Did It Again letter, which is just letters showing his success, and the other one
Yep.
was searching for, and he would list all of his buyers
Yep.
that were looking for this neighborhood, this and this, and they also sometimes would be like on that same letter, searching for a buyer for this property coming on the market soon. I did that letter more often than not. Um, that I had more success with that than the Tony Did It Again letters.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah,
Huh.
and because I was just showing that, hey, I had all these customers and
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
people who would
sense.
call. So that actually worked really well. We did shift that up a little bit to where once a quarter we'd send out a big postcard to our database that had a photograph of every house we closed that quarter. Or sometimes it would be my production wasn't really super high, it would be, hey, quarterly market update on the back, and then I would rotate all the pictures of the houses that I sold in the last 12 months. So
That's good.
it was a quarterly update, and yeah, I had sold them all in the last 12, but that was, trying to build up my proof of success, right?
Sure. And even
But
we did somewhere you would just do the ones from the office or whatever that is
sometimes, yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Hmm.
And sometimes people assume that you sold it, but maybe it wasn't your
Yeah,
deal, but you could just say EXP did it or KW did it.
yeah, exactly. So,
Which is accurate and but gives a good impression of who you are and what you do
mhm.
as part of that. When did you bring on your first virtual assistant? I don't know when that was.
um, my first one was in 2010.
2010. Okay,
And that
you were
was
an
my
early
first one.
adopter.
I was it was during my foreclosure years, and I had at any given time 30 to 50 listings that were short sales, which we all know they didn't sell.
Yeah.
And I was very late to the game learning that I needed a better buyer agent pool because I couldn't handle any of the
Mm,
buyers coming in because I was too
sure.
busy doing the short sale. And someone suggested a virtual assistant. I can tell you it was an expensive disaster.
Really?
And here's
What went
why.
wrong? Yeah, what went wrong?
Well, it was the classic, we've got a virtual assistant that is plug and play and trained to do everything you need him to do. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. It doesn't work. You cannot have a real estate or any business virtual assistant that is plug and play and ready to go. It's just not,
No,
I mean, is a stateside hire going to be plug and play and ready to go? No, because
no,
how
not a
you run
chance.
your real estate business and how I run my real estate business, we could use all of the same tools. We still run it different.
Yes,
And
that's right.
that's why it was a disaster. Because my expectation was, why am I if I'm going to spend all this time teaching and coaching them and doing all this, I don't need to be paying at that time it was equivalent to our minimum wage in the
Wow.
state. And because that company, because they train them and they manage them for you, had up was basically pricing up the VA. And I found out, like, at the time the VA was making like $1.85 an hour. That was,
Hmm.
in
In
2010.
2010. Yeah.
And I wasn't supposed to find that out, but I found it out, and I was paying $11 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was like, and when I confronted the company on that, they were just like, well, how'd you find out that he made 100 something? Did he tell you? I'm like, wait, you're more concerned about the fact that you think this guy ratted you out
Yeah.
rather than defending your value proposition. And I was like, we're done.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm never doing this again. Then COVID
It-
happened.
yeah. Yep.
And um, I had my upline in EXP is pretty awesome in that they very early on, they knew Justin, Justin Nelson, who is the founder and owner of Sphere Rocket. He had this brainchild of I think this is going to work. Literally had it. And just, he launched the business, about a couple of weeks. And he just got a few key supporters like Fred and Kevin. You know who Fred and Kevin are. And
Yes.
they're just like, we think this is a great idea. We're going to help you out. We're going to give you our entire list of people. And I was an early adopter. I'm like, I need help. Let's
Mhm.
see if this works. Um, and my husband was like, "Oh, this is going to be an expensive disaster." I remember he was not real happy with it, and I kind of looked at him like, I said, "You spend more money that's wasteful than I do on the 99.99 deal from a convention at real estate convention, right?" And
Yes, yes.
um, so we did it. I was in the first group. I'm lucky in that, lucky. That's funny. I'm lucky. My first virtual assistant was named Lucky. He is still with me. He's one of the longest tenured virtual assistants of any client at Sphere Rocket. And I think I came in with a new mindset because I knew Justin was building and figuring it out. We were building the plane while we were flying it, and I knew that being an early adopter, and so I think my mindset changed. And after talking with him about, at that time we really approached it like this is like a headhunter, and we're going to place you with talent. But in the end, if it's going to work, you have to take ownership of teaching them your expectations. And that made a world of difference. And, obviously, I've had as many, I've used virtual assistants since. Lucky's starting on his 6th year with me. And I've had as many as little as one and as many as 6 virtual assistants at any given time, based on the needs of the team, the market, special projects, and things like that.
When you first hired Lucky, what was his roles and responsibilities for your business?
Everything.
Everything. Okay.
I had this fantasy of all the things that he was going to solve for me. And I think that's the same problem that most people do when they hire a virtual assistant. I'm going to give him everything I hate to do that isn't getting done, and that I want to get what I want to add to my business. Okay, if you hate to do it, that's the first problem. Can you teach it? Is it needs to get done, but I've never done it? Can you teach it? And does it make sense? I think the classic thing with real estate professionals, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant to call all my leads for me. No,
Right, right. I've
no.
had that. Yeah, I've had that. Many of my most recent requests have been for appointment setters, and you're right. There's a dream out there, or some kind. They're selling a dream that there is, the silver bullet VA
Somebody can do my
process.
job and I just collect the check.
Exactly, exactly. It's just like, really passive income's almost never passive income. It's the same kind of idea. This is not a passive endeavor, certainly. And you know that I launched my first VA at the same time a good friend of ours launched his, and I did spend 2 weeks. I would say probably 2 to 4 hours a day for the first 2 weeks, just I'd call it a Vulcan mind meld. I just, I had him watch me and see how I thought, how I reacted to certain things that needed to be done in the database, how I wanted it organized, and that type of thing. And he wasn't even doing my emails or anything. It was just a matter of managing my database. And
Yeah.
I had a fairly complex system of getting people into my database, and he helped me, I guess you'd say, streamline that a little bit more, because he was already working for another team on the East Coast and had some skills there to help me arrange that. And then we did, and we iterated the process. So instead of, like, initially we were looking up home addresses to try and send them some type of a postcard or whatever. and we tried a couple different sites and it wasn't accurate, so we'd have to enter, like, we tried to mail to 3 addresses,
Yeah.
and 2 or 3 would bounce back, and we're like, well, I don't know, maybe it's this one. Then we started to find better and better ways to acquire the information, and other places that could actually vet the addresses for us, and now we're very accurate in how we do that and in entering it. So, and plus, obviously, just like any human being, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And so, actually, RG, my first VA, he's been with me 4 years now, so
Mhm.
he knows how I think and what goes on. And at this point, he'll go, Paul, I think we should try this, or let's do this, And I think Lucky's the same way. He's initiating things, and he's out there taking classes, and he'll tell me, he goes, Paul, I was on this training class with the VAs the other day and they asked me to tell them how to do something that we're doing, and that type of thing. So he's actually teaching other people occasionally in a general sense on some of those things on the VA calls. And so I was like, man, that's cool, because I don't go on those calls, of course, so I don't know exactly what's going on. And
Yeah.
so yeah, and so now I'm moving him into managing the database for my virtual assistant business, Whisker Rocket, and that's going well. And we've established some things there, similar processes, because like you teach process generally, and back office management and the
Onboarding,
system
training,
side,
and systems
onboarding
building.
systems. Yes, and you're excellent at that, and your systems are proven, and you've tweaked them over and over again, but they're working, and that type of thing. So bottom line is, I always feature you, like I say in my slide presentations about virtual assistants, understanding that you've been through this. You're not going to get a VA that knows everything, but they certainly
Mhm.
will know the basics of what you want them to do, and then you've got to hone them into the exact way you think and how you would respond and how you would want to have that done
Yeah, and it
as part of
changes
that.
all the time.
It
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 does
does.
change.
I'm making videos in Slack consistently, saying, "Hey, I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought maybe we try it this way. Let's see how this works," and then we tweak it that way. And I'll send him a video, when he's not on the clock, and he'll pick it up. Actually, sometimes he picks it up in the middle of the night or the middle of the day there, even when he's sleeping. He goes, "Oh yeah, I'll try that. I'll let you know how it goes." So it's probably the same way with you and Lucky, developing those processes over time, and they do get better and better. And
You do.
then when you come back and you look at where we've come from, where we started from, and where we are now, it's a huge leap for some people. And they go, well, you just make it look so easy. I mean, can I get somebody like that? And you're like, I developed that person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, it was a mutual benefit for both of us, but I developed that person, and we had a lot of hard knocks to get there, and you're going to need to do that. And I don't know. Some people just think, like you say, it's a silver bullet. It is not a silver bullet. It
No.
is a human being that wants to work for you, and most of the time is pretty excited about getting things done for you, and has a good heart for it, and they will perform if you do the right things.
Yeah, they will. You got to
Yeah.
really work carefully with them, and you pour into them as much as they pour into your business. I mean, I had I had a good day today. I was actually one of our other VAs. She's been with us a couple years, and I did a one-on-one with her today and gave her a pretty significant raise because
Oh,
she's
really?
just,
Good.
yeah, she's super amazing. I don't even have to think. I just say I want this and she does it. And so it's been great, and it brought her to tears today. And
Oh,
so that was pretty cool. But she's been with us forever, and I think at least I think I got her for another 2 years at least.
oh,
So,
that's
but
awesome.
she's our
That's
marketing
awesome.
person. It's just I just throw out hey, yeah, what do you think about this? Can you get it done? Or she'll hear something in a meeting and she'll send me, hey, I just did this, and I'll be like, awesome, cool. I hadn't even
Yeah.
fleshed out that idea yet, but you solved it. Thank you. So that you do get to evolve to that point. It just takes a while.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say was the, as far as that? All right, let me ask this question first. How many VAs do you have today?
Just two.
You have two. Okay,
We
so
had
you have
we
her
had
and Lucky.
Jellica and Lucky. We had four just a couple months ago, but one of my VAs unfortunately actually had some pretty severe health issues. He's out of the woods now and wants to come back, but we've made a business decision to wait. That was a cold caller, but not for real estate sales. Then we had another. I'm stepping down from, but I ran the EXP military network for EXP for the last 6 years, and I had a virtual assistant that ran that whole organization for me.
Cool.
And now that I have literally taken her and turned it over to the new board, and Sphere Rocket is still, they sponsored her as a marketing thing with EXP, and so we just moved her over to the whole new board. But so now that's why I'm down to two.
Yeah, my good friend Justin Hannaford's participating in that now. Happens to be in
Mm-hmm.
my market here, which is great. He's super excited about that. I think he's ready to go. Yeah, I just met with him
He's
that
doing
last week.
awesome.
He's doing great. He's good character. Good man. Well, awesome. Well, to kind of wrap up, what I was going to ask you, I just love listening to you go through on your trainings each week, and so I do encourage people to go and listen to those. Yeah, as you've been teaching these systems and things in the back office, what would you say are the top three things that you teach in your classes that probably is most effective? I don't know if you can think of one, two, or three things that maybe would help some of our people watching this in their business.
I think mapping your business functions. I teach people how
Yes.
to either whiteboard or Trello board it, and then using that to move around functionality. And we've got some different classes on teaching on how that works. The other thing
Yeah.
is I give everybody my systems. I just give it to them. I don't want, there's so many new tools. There's Slack, there's Asana, there's Monday, there's all these tools you could be using.
Yep.
And sometimes it becomes a job managing those tools. And I discovered after spending this time building that for my VAs that they were taking what I was building and putting it into a Google Sheet anyways. So it's like, why am I wasting all this time? My entire management system's Google Sheets with my VAs. And I think that when I tell people you don't have to pay for this, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this, let's keep it simple, stupid,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Or as my mom would say, keep it simple, sweetie. And that's what I do. That's it. I give them my tools and systems, and they're adaptable to any business.
I love that, because even Justin would say many times, Justin Nelson, founder of Sphere Rocket, he says, guys, don't make it overcomplicated. Do use the spreadsheets. And I have it happens to be a Google Sheet that has, I don't know, 60 tabs on it, I think now, that we utilize in different manners, or some of them we've sunset some of them because we don't do them anymore. But there's so many that we've done, like we're building a mailing list right now of networking groups and that type of thing. And so we're punch listing those out and building that to send out to the postcard companies for us to get our mailers done on a monthly basis as well.
Yep.
And then last night I was just building a framework on one of my things with promoting VAs is to keep track of local events that are going on, and then letting people know about the events that are coming up in the area. And that's proven to be, you become a point person for that. And in these networking groups that I'm involved in. And so sometimes I don't try and intimidate the people that are bringing the events to these different networking groups. Yet sometimes if I just have the VA spend about an hour and a half per week, he can give me 2 full pages of events that are going on, sequenced by the day and the hour and where it's going to be, and what organization is putting it on, how much the tickets cost to get in, if it is a ticketed event. and all those things. And it's hugely valuable. I don't see anybody doing that, and then I put my branding on the side and I pass it out
Yeah.
to the 20 or 30 people that are in the room. And they're like, wow, this is amazing, and it doesn't matter which group I go in because there's no other persons that is marketing VA services. So
They're just not.
I agree with you. That's just, you just have to find your unique position and all those things. So, well, we need to wrap up here. I love talking with you, Deanna. You're one of my favorite folks to have conversation with. And so I miss having time with you. Hopefully we'll get together really soon. And thank you for being on the Leverage podcast. And we'll get this thing published and get people understanding a little better how you operate down there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Does that sound
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. It's been great seeing you again.
good?
Hopefully we'll get together
Absolutely.
soon. Okay.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Deanna.
All right. Bye-bye.